Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, the dream institute for any student interested in science. At least once in the whole lifetime, everyone wants to visit this premier institute. I, AIR 31 Gate 2023, got the opportunity to be appeared in the interview for Aerospace Engineering Department and Mechanical Engineering Department. Just for the information, I opted for the M.Tech RES degree. This degree is equivalent to MS degree in any other IIT or in any abroad university. If you don't know the difference between MS and M.Tech, I will just tell you in one line. M.Tech is the extension of your B.Tech degree, and you can think that the structure of M.Tech and B.Tech is almost same. But MS is a preamble of PhD. You have to submit your thesis, you have to publish papers to get the degree. Now, bahut gyan ho gaya. Let's go directly into the story. Through that story, you can learn how to behave in an academic interview, how to behave if you don't know really the answer of a particular question, or if you know very little about that particular question, how to handle tough questions like, why are you joining this? So these academic interviews are actually different from the so-called PSO interviews or ISRO DRDO interviews. Okay. So interviews for IIT and IISc or any IISER or any academic institutions are a bit different. You have to learn how to behave in an academic interview, how to apologize if you don't know anything or if you have done anything wrong. So all these things are included in this story. I have done something wrong, really something wrong, other than the wrong answer. I have done really something wrong during my interview. How did I apologize? How did I handle the situation? I will tell all of this in this particular video. So stay tuned. Now directly, let me go to the interview day. In the morning, I went to the IISc Bangalore campus in 9 a.m. I was asked to report at 9:30 in Aerospace Engineering Department. So my car, I was in an Uber. So my car was allowed to enter into the campus because I showed them the interview letter. You have to carry the interview letter and all other important documents carefully. I went to the Aerospace Engineering Department. I was asked to wait in a big waiting hall. So that was a kind of a seminar hall, I understood. And there I had a beautiful companion. She was from physics department, from any other college. I did not ask that. We had a great talk for around 15 minutes, after which 4 more students joined us. Yes, M.Tech research degree is not in that much high demand. The reason is very simple, because most of the people are interested in job and not in the research. And that is why you don't need very high rank to opt for the M.Tech research degree. But if you are interested in M.Tech degree in IISc, just to get selected in the interview, if you are in general category, then you need a rank of at least 200 or less than that. Okay, now let me continue. So we were 6 people for the interview. Now, don't get me wrong that he is talking about the M.Tech research interview. If you heard from anyone who had appeared for the M.Tech interview, the questions are actually similar because the same teachers are asking. But the approach should be more fundamental for a M.Tech RES student because you are going for research. So these questions are the same questions which can be asked to a M.Tech student also. Okay, now again let me continue to the story. So after the 6 students gathered, 10 professors came. I understood that who was the chair, and the chair gave us the first speech. After that, one student asked that, "Sir, how many seats are there for us?" So the answer for this was, a different teacher gave the answer other than the chair. He said that, see, we are not filling apples into the basket, and that we have to take 5 apples, at least 5 apples to fill the basket. No, if none of you are capable enough, we will select none. He literally said this, and after that, we all was like, okay, ab thoda dar lag raha hai. Okay, so with that dar, we went on to the interview. So before we went on to the panel, we were distributed some sheets. So on that sheets, you have to fill up the sub-branch choice for aerospace engineering. For aerospace engineering, the sub-branches are aerodynamics, flight control, propulsion, like that. One more branch was there, I cannot exactly recall. So it is very simple that because none of us were from the aerospace engineering background, we were not exactly aware about the sub branches. I was aware because I had aerodynamics in my BTech. Okay. So all the students asked the teachers, the professors, that what should I do? I don't know about that what I will study in flight control or aerodynamics. So they asked that what is your favorite subject? Then they helped that if thermodynamics and heat transfer are your favorite subject, you should go for propulsion. If you are interested in fluid mechanics, you should go for aerodynamics. If you are interested in mechanics itself, engine mechanics or the theory of machines, then also you can go for aerodynamics. Or there was the other branch I just now recalled. The other branch was the structural analysis. If you are interested in engine mechanics, solid mechanics, then structural analysis is for you. So again, I am interrupting a bit. If you don't like these discussions, you can directly skip to the question answer part. If you don't like this aerospace engineering part, you can directly skip to the mechanical engineering. So after we filled these sheets, we were asked to go to the interview panel. So in my panel, in aerodynamics panel, I was the first student. I entered the room. There were 5 teachers. And among them, 2 were young and the remaining 3 were very experienced and aged people. So the chair, I understood that he is the chair. He was sitting between all the professors. So he asked me that tell us your favorite subject. So please carefully listen to all the things. Okay, because in this story, in between these stories, I will give you the tips. You will learn from my story. So he asked me that what is your favorite subject? I told thermodynamics. Now then he asked me that okay fine, tell us about thermodynamic properties. Tell us some thermodynamic properties. So I went on internal energy, temperature, pressure, volume, entropy, enthalpy. Then he said, okay, now you will tell what is enthalpy. I told that enthalpy is also known as the total heat content of the system. Mathematically, it is U plus PV. U is the internal energy, PV is the flow work. Interviewer, what is flow work and what is its significance? Flow work is the minimum amount of work to sustain a flow. He was satisfied. After that, now the real question came. If I define a parameter like Q minus PV, will it still be a thermodynamic property? Then I paused a bit. So now you are thinking that okay, U is a property, P is a property, V is a thermodynamic property. That means U minus PV should also be a property. So this was not the approach or the answer he was expecting. Because see, del Q by T reversible is also a thermodynamic property, but here Q is not a property. So I went on to say that, sir, I need to observe or I need to investigate that if it is a property or not. Then he laughed and said, okay, I need to know that how can you investigate. Then I said that I need to perform some experiment to see that if it is fixing the state or not. Because a thermodynamic property is what? It can fix a state. That is fine. Then he said, okay, but tell us about a very specific feature of a thermodynamic property by which you can know that if it is a property or not. I mean, how can you perform the experiment? Which experiment will you perform to see that if it is fixing the state or not? So at this time, I was not able to understand the question. If you are knowing the answer, please comment in the comment box. I mean, pause the video and do it in the comment box. So I said that, I mean, the feature of enthalpy is we can use it to find the work and all, but these were not the answers. Then they said, okay, leave it. So at this point of time, I thought, yaar, pehla question to main answer nahi kar paya, so maybe I am finished. Then they asked that, okay, go to the board and draw a PV diagram. Draw 2 points, 1 and 2. Draw 2 paths joining them, A and B. And now consider del HA as the enthalpy difference if I follow the path A. Consider del HB as the enthalpy difference if I follow the path B. Now tell us which will be more. Then I simply said that Sir, both will be same because enthalpy is not a function of the path because it is a thermodynamic property. Then they said this was the concept that we were trying to drag from you. See, here is the first tip. They are very helpful. They could have done like this. कि यार इसको समझ में नहीं आ रहा, हमारा question तो जाने दो. No, they reframed their question so that I can understand simply. So they are there for helping you and not for demeaning you. So you should go into the interview panel with a very positive mindset that they will not demean me. They are there for helping me. Fine. So after that, he asked me that, okay, now can you tell us? Then they asked that if H is equal to U plus PV, that is fine. Now you tell us that for a constant pressure process, what is DH? I told, sir, for a constant pressure process, DH is CPDT. That is fine. Now they told me, okay, now you tell us that other than CPDT, which other thermodynamic quantity? They did not say thermodynamic property. They said which thermodynamic quantity will be equal to DH if I follow a constant pressure path. I was again confused. Then they again guided me. Write H is equal to U plus PV. Then DH equals to DU plus PdV plus VdP. So for a constant pressure process, VdP will be 0. So it is DU plus PdV. Then I simply said it will be equal to DQ. Then they looked satisfied, but currently I am not satisfied. Because see, dQ is equal to DU plus PdV only for a closed system undergoing a reversible process, neglecting the potential and the kinetic energy changes. But there were no such restrictions. Yes, mathematically DH is equal to DU plus PdV if I follow a constant pressure path. But it will be only equal to DQ if those restrictions that I have just now said were followed. So what do you think about this question? Please tell. So this was about the thermodynamics part. Now they asked that, okay, now can you do some mathematics? I simply told them, sir, I am not comfortable with mathematics in a very good manner because I am not very much confident. And they said, don't worry, we will ask very simple questions. Again, they are always trying to pacify me. They said, don't worry. Okay, you will not be troubled. So then they asked that, can we ask you some questions from linear algebra? I said them, okay. So then they asked that if you have a set of linear simultaneous equations, how can you say that if you have a unique solution or if you have no solution or if you have infinite solution? Now, this is a very standard question. If you are appearing for GATE, you must be knowing this. So the answer will be from the rank of the augmented matrix, the coefficient matrix, and the dimension of the coefficient. I am not just wasting time to give the answer of this. This is a very standard question and I gave the right answer. Now they told me, can you show us graphically? Then I asked them, sir, can I show by drawing lines other than planes? Because you see, if you take two variables, then the equation is for a line. If you take three variables, then the equation is for a plane. If you take more than three variables, then it is a hyperplane. Then they said, okay, go for lines. So I showed them like this, that if two lines are intersecting, then one unique solution. If they are coinciding, then infinite solution. If they are not intersecting, not coinciding, then it is not having any solution. They were satisfied. Now they asked me that, can you write the heat conduction equation for 1D transient problem? So I wrote. Then they asked me that, can you solve it? I mean, you don't have to solve it. Just you say that which mathematical method you will take to solve it. So this was the question that is actually very much relevant if you are appearing for M.Tech or M.Tech research. You have to learn the separation of variable. So I learned it, but I was not recalling the name. So which approach did AIR 31 took? I told them, sir, I am not recalling the exact approach, but I can just try that I should proceed like this. They told them, okay, go on. So they were very supportive. And see, I could have told, sir, I don't know this, or I could have told them the lie that, sir, this is the approach. I could guess it. No, I told the right thing. So tip number 2, always be honest. They are very experienced. If you tell them lie, then they will catch you. And if you don't try, that will make a bad impression. If you really don't know anything about that, then only you should chill. I don't. But if you know at least a bit, if you can recall at least a bit, you should tell them that, sir, I can try. So I went on and I wrote that t is equal to some f of x into some g of t. So this was the first step of separation of variable, and they looked satisfied. So I wrote only one line and they understood that, okay, this guy has learned at some point of time. That is fine. Then one other young professor asked me that, can I ask you from CFD? I told, sir, okay, sir, I will try. So this should be the approach. You should not tell, okay, sir. I mean, okay, sir is fine, but okay, sir, I will try. This is a better approach. You should learn these phrases. This will put a very great impression on the interviewers. So they went on to ask that, if you have a linear simultaneous equation you got after the discretization of a particular governing equation, then how can you solve that? What are the methods? I told them Gaussian elimination is a method. I told them Jacobi and Gaussian iteration. Now I was trapped because I knew the Gaussian elimination. They asked me that, can you explain? I took 3 generic, linear simultaneous equation like a1x plus b1y plus c1z is equal to d1, a2x plus b2y plus c2z is equal to d2, a3x plus b3y plus c3z is equal to d3. And I told them, sir, by this thing I can convert it to a upper triangular matrix, and after that I need to solve it. This is the Gaussian elimination. They looked satisfied. After that, they told me, okay, now tell us the Jacobi and Gaussian. See, here I trapped myself. Again, tip number 3, I did this mistake that before answering, take at least 10 to 15 seconds or even 30 seconds. But try not to answer those things which you don't know in detail. Okay? You should have only answered that, okay, sir, Gaussian elimination, because this you know fully. Now, Jacobi, then they asked that, do you know about Jacobi and Gaussian? Again, I said, sir, I can try. So I was remembering a bit that, okay, this can be the method of Jacobi and this is the method of Gaussian. So I was recalling the methods, but I was not exactly recalling that which one is for Jacobi and which one is for Gaussian. So I told them, then they helped me. They prompted me that, okay, this is for the Gaussian and this is for the Jacobi. They were satisfied. Now there was the toughest question of the interview. Can you show the matrix representation for solving with the Jacobi iteration? So only if you have studied the linear algebra or numerical methods or CFD in very detail, then only you can answer this question. I studied the CFD from the NPTEL lecture of Professor Soham Chakraborty. That is why I could answer this question. But at that particular time, I was not recalling the exact form of the matrix. So I told them, sir, I am not able to remember the exact form. Can I try to derive it? See, these are the approaches. They will be very happy to see a student who is giving more emphasis in the derivation other than just memorizing it. Because this should be the approach of a scientist, of an engineer. Okay, you should be approaching any problem from very fundamental. So I took at least 15 minutes. Now you are thinking that, okay, 15 minutes is a very less time. But for them, 15 minutes is not very less time in an interview. 15 minutes for a particular question is not a very less time. So they were very patient. They did not tell any negative word. They were allowing me that, okay, go on. Finally, I could derive that particular matrix form of the Jacobi iteration step. They looked very satisfied. And after the interview, they asked me that, are you sure that you don't want to join into the PhD directly. So then I understood that they are really, really satisfied that they want me to join into the PhD and not into the M.Tech RES. Then I said that no, sir, I want to join M.Tech. There was a particular reason behind that. If you want to know that, I can prepare a separate video to decide that if you want to go in further academics, then in which path you should go. M.Tech, direct PhD, abroad, India, or anything else. I can make a detailed video about it. So please tell that in the comments. So this was the experience for aerospace engineering. After that, I went to the mechanical engineering department. There was no such form in which you have to fill your sub-branch. You have to just give your attendance and you will be called to the interview. So I was waiting for 1.5 hours, and in that 1.5 hours, you can imagine. So if you are just waiting outside the interview hall of IISc Bangalore Mechanical Engineering, how much pressure is there? Still, you need to keep your mind calm. Now, I am not a superhuman. मेरे भी हाथ पैर काँप रहे थे. I was also getting very high heartbeat. बहुत टेंशन हो रहा था. वो चीज़ें होंगे. But you can at least take a deep breath. So this is again a tip. Actually, this is a tip that whenever you are seeing that you are getting very tensed, take some deep breaths. Take some deep breaths because it will lower your cortisol. Okay. Because if you are really very unwell just because of your tension, then you cannot do well in the interview, right? So सब कुछ मेरे साथ भी हुआ था, वो tension and all. लेकिन I tried to control it. So after 1.5 hours, I was allowed to enter into the interview. So I was expecting कि aerospace में 5 आदमी थे, तो यहाँ पर भी शायद maximum there should be 6 to 7 interviewers. But there were 14 to 15 professors of IISc Bangalore in front of me in a large table. So that was like a shock for me. What? I mean, I was really shocked. And then I was obviously in that interview, I was in a formal attire. But I made the mistake of carrying my earphone on my neck. That was a neckband earphone. The ma'am asked, what are you wearing in the collar? Then I saw that, okay, with the formal attire, I brought my earphone inside the interview. Then I told them, sorry, ma'am, sorry. I literally did this. Sorry, ma'am, sorry. I mean, I was so tensed that I did this. Sorry, ma'am. I did not do this intentionally. Then they all laughed and they said, don't worry, kid. We will not disqualify you for only this. See, they are very good people. So then they asked me, by seeing my academic backgrounds, then they asked me that, did you have a rank in Uchcha Madhyamik? That is the higher secondary examination for West Bengal board. Did you have a rank? Because I have a very great score of 96.5%, or it was 95.6. Okay, 5 और 6 को थोड़ा adjust कर लो. So 95.6%. So then they asked that my rank was, sir, 14. I told them that my rank was 14 and not under 10. Then they told me that, okay, but now I think the level of the science in the West Bengal board has fallen, right? Then I just laughed a little bit. I mean, laughed with not ha, but I gave them a gesture of smiling. So these are the etiquettes that throughout the interview, you have to be very humble. At the same time, you don't need to lose your confidence. Okay. So after that, one professor asked me that, okay, tell us about your B.Tech thesis, B.Tech project, BTP. So I went on to saying, so I worked on a microcombustor in my B.Tech thesis. It is a dimension, the dimension of the combustor was in the millimeters. So then they told me, one professor asked that, okay, so you are working in a microdomain. So what will be the change in the governing equations? I told them, sir, that the governing equations will be the same. We can simplify it by some assumptions, but the main change will be in the physics because there will be enhanced heat loss because of the reduced size in the combustor. They looked satisfied. Then they told me that, what is the challenge? I told them the challenge. So then one professor saw that I am really answering very fast and well. So then he tried to trick me. Okay. So in that scenario, I am telling you, everything was not in my side. There was one professor in the mechanical panel who tried to trick me, and he was asking like a rapid fire. I said that flame stability. Okay, so on which thing of flame stability depends? I said this. Okay, a lot about this, a lot about this. So it was like a rapid fire, and I was being very tensed because I did not study combustion in a great detail. So after that, another professor asked very peacefully, "Can you tell about this?" I told him that, "Sir, I have not studied combustion as a course in my B.Tech. I just have done my BTP on that." Then they said, "Okay, you have not studied combustion. Okay, that is fine." Then they asked me that, "What is your favorite subject from which we should ask you?" Now I told them with a bit of confidence, "Sir, you can ask me from anything out from either of thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, or heat transfer." Then they said that, "No, you have to choose only one. You have to choose one." Then I took almost 2 minutes to choose between these three. I don't know why, because in aerodynamics, I told thermodynamics. So, yes, but in mechanical engineering, I was confused. I don't know why. That was the scenario in the interview. So these were the things. I mean, see, everything will not be in your control. You will make some silly mistakes in every interview, no matter how much you are prepared. So after 2 minutes, I told them thermodynamics. So then one professor told, then one professor told that, "Okay, but we can ask you from anything other than combustion, right?" So they understood that I was fearing that अगर ये लोग मुझसे combustion के बारे में पूछने लगे तो मैं क्या करूँगा. Then they gave me this problem. So this is a very much standard problem for gate also, that you have a rigid chamber, insulated. In between the chamber, you have a membrane, and on the two sides of the membrane, you have two gases at two different states. P1, P1, T1, P2, P2, T2 are given. If I now cut the membrane, then you have to find the final PV and T. Now, this is a very standard problem for gate. But in that interview panel, you have to solve it by step. You have to tell the logic, the reason behind doing every step. So, during the gate, we have a bad habit of thinking about the formula. Whenever we see a particular problem, we think about the formula. That is fine for gate, but not fine for this type of interviews. Even if you are appearing for the M.Tech interview and not for M.Tech RES. So, I made the mistake of directly starting the problem without defining the CV. I had a good fundamental. I knew that this is my CV in my mind, but I did not define it. But they were helpful. They told me that, "Beta, be very careful. You have to first define your CV." Then I defined my CV. When I was writing every step, they were asking that, "Why you are writing this step? What are the assumptions behind this step?" So through this one question, they are judging my fundamental for the whole thermodynamics. So these are the tips. If you are going for any academic interview for BARC, ISRO, DRDO, then your fundamentals should be at your nail point. You should be very strong in your fundamentals. You should be not in the mental state that I have studied for GATE, then I am hero. No, that is not the scenario. They will catch you that this guy is just memorizing the form. Then after this question, I have saw they were satisfied. They told me, "Okay, now I will go to a higher level." Then they told me that, "Okay, now you have a rigid chamber, insulated. Now inside that rigid chamber, if I have a blast," okay, I can recall that they said that if I have some fuel and then the fuel is burning, then what will happen? You have to now find the final state. First, they told me that, "Will the first law be valid here?" I said with the confidence, "Obviously, sir, first law is valid everywhere." Then they told me that, "Okay, go on." Then I told them, "Sir, there is no energy incoming or outgoing from the chamber. So the chemical energy of the fuel will be converted into the thermal energy of the gas product. Then they said, okay, very good. Now they told me how you will find the final state. I told them, sir, total energy of the fuel, that will be equal to the total energy of the gas. They said, okay, write that. So then I did the mistake. The total energy comprises of the chemical energy plus the thermal energy. But I wrote only the thermal energy, Cv into Ti, equal to Cv into Te. No, that will not be the thing. It should be chemical energy plus thermal energy of the initial fuel is equal to chemical energy plus thermal energy of the final exhaust gas. But at that time, I was not knowing about the chemical energy, that how to write it. But now I know it. But they were satisfied because they told me, okay, I am not expecting to give you the final answer. I was just seeing your approach. Okay. Then one professor again asked me that, can I ask something from the mathematics? I told them, okay, sir, I will try. Then they told me that from which topic I can ask. I told them simply, sir, I am not confident with any topic of engineering mathematics. I am not that much confident. So you can ask me from any topic, I will try. So then they told me, so can I ask you from linear algebra? I understood that linear algebra is a very hotshot topic for any research. So I told them, okay, sir, I can try. So these were the two phrases, okay, sir, I can try, I used throughout the whole interview. Then they asked me that, write the eigenvalue problem. So now pause the video and ask yourself, what is the eigenvalue problem? I wrote this thing, that mod of A minus lambda I is equal to 0. And if you are also agreeing with me, this is not the answer. So he told me that, beta, this is not the eigenvalue problem. You have to write the basic equation from which you can derive it. So I told them, sir, the basic equation is Ax equal to lambda x. I knew it. Then you can take the lambda x into the left-hand side. You can take the x common. Then you will have A minus lambda I into x equal to 0. But from this step, how can you say that mod of A minus lambda is equal to 0? What are the conditions? That I was not remembering. So at this time, I told them, honestly, sir, I have forgotten. I knew it, but I have forgotten. These are the tips that how should you handle the situation where you are not knowing the answer. But honestly, I knew it, but I have forgotten. Then they said, okay, koi baat nahi. Now you tell us that what are the conditions for a matrix to be invertible. I told them, sir, the matrix has to be non-singular. Okay, the matrix has to be non-singular. So then they said, what does that mean? I said that, sir, the matrix should have a non-zero determinant. Then they said, so now knowing this, can you say that how you will get A minus lambda equal to 0 mod of that? So then I understood that, sir, if A minus lambda I is invertible, then x equal to 0. Because then I can say that x is equal to A minus lambda I into the null matrix. That is equal to the null matrix. But if A minus lambda is not invertible, then only it has to be equal to 0. So the condition is A minus lambda I has to be singular. That means the determinant of it should be 0. See, the next step is you have to study all the things from very fundamental. So these are the very basic theories of linear algebra. These are not rocket science. Okay? These are not rocket science. So this was the last question of the interview. But then there is a thing that I would like to share. Then they again told me that, why are you not they asked me that, what are your final goals? I told them, sir, I want to do research. And before they asked me that, you have such a good rank, why you have not opted for M.Tech? Then I told them, sir, I want to do research. Then they told me, why you are not opting for PhD then? Then I told them, sir, I am not sure if I am capable of PhD or not. So I want to see by doing M.Tech research. Then they told me that if you are not sure, that if you are not capable or not, then why do you want to research? Because PhD is actual research. So then I was quiet for some moment. I told them, I don't have any answer. I simply told them, I don't have any answer. Then they laughed, and one professor said that no, maybe he is thinking, maybe he is trying to judge in this 2.5 years that if IISc Bangalore is suitable for him or not. They all laughed, but I did not laugh because what he says, if you have understood, is not a joke. Because I am not anyone to judge IISc Bangalore. So I did not laugh. I was still like this. Then they said, okay, your interview is over. So throughout this interview, there were so many things that you can learn, right? And I have told all the things, that how you should behave, what you should tell if you don't know anything, what you should tell if you know the thing, but currently you cannot recall it. All the things are very important. And there were every situation. I was being tensed outside the interview hall. I got shocked after entering the interview. One teacher tried to fashion me, tried to trick me. How did I handle the situation? You should learn from this. Finally, you might be thinking that what is the result? The result is I got selected. But despite being selected into IISc Bangalore, why someone will join IIT Kharagpur? So if you want to know the answer of this question, you can visit this video where I have explained in detail that what you should consider before joining into any PSU or any IIT or IISc. So I will meet you in that video only. Until that, goodbye, take care, and thank you.